Beginning to my show today. If you can fall in love with a guy, if you're a guy, and I can, I do fall in love with guys, to be honest. I've had men I've loved all of my life. And I am cisgender heterosexual, just for the record. But I am in love with Ron DeSantis. What can I tell you? I am. When I read about this guy, one of my thoughts is, if he needed his shoes shined, I would not consider it demeaning in any way for me to shine his shoes. If that would register how much respect I have for him and affection, then I would happily do it, providing it was black or brown. Pretty much except for burgundy. That's what it is for men's shoes. DeSantis rejects federal mask guidance for children. Not doing that in Florida. Yes, indeed. Epic times. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said Florida won't implement mask mandates on public school children, coming after federal health officials have suggested that unvaccinated kids and school staff should wear masks while in class. There's been talk about potentially people advocating at the federal level imposing compulsory masks on kids. DeSantis said, "We're not doing that in Florida, okay? We need our kids to breathe." Parents obviously can equip their kids to go to school however they want, but there shouldn't be any coercive mandates in our schools, he said, adding that masks are terribly uncomfortable for kids. Well, so my friends, you vote Democrat and you get hurt for doing so, and then you vote Democrat again. A very, very powerful proof that people do not think rationally even of their own self-interest. They are more likely to vote on emotion, on what the brainwash of their life has been. That's all. There is no other possible explanation for middle-class people voting Democrat. There is no other explanation for blacks and Jews voting Democrat. It's all emotion. It is not only is it irrelevant how much education you had, it actually is relevant. The more education you have, the more brainwashed you are. Hence my view of college: better intoxicated than indoctrinated. Why you would send your kids to a school this year that demanded that they be masked? Well, you think you have no choice. There's no such thing in life as no choice. Well, let me think. Is there a thing in life? No choice? I'm going to think about that. When is there no choice? I'm talking about in how we react, not in what happens to us. We have no choice in that. Pretty much we always have choice. Maybe a difficult choice. You're going to have your kid vaccinated in order to go to college? When there are colleges that they don't have to be vaccinated for, that you could send your child to? There's an example of choice. It's a difficult choice. The college that they're currently enrolled in is the one they're used to. You may like it for other reasons, although I can't think of any offhand why you would like any college in this country, almost any college. But anyway, it's a different world, the world of Florida under DeSantis. And it proves what a lie. The whole thing's a charade. I worked out yesterday at my gym, and you're supposed to wear a mask indoors in Los Angeles County. The poor trainers have to be masked the whole day, or at least the whole time that they're there. Working out with masks, I got to tell you, that's a blast. So there weren't many people there when I was there, but I of course lowered the mask under my nose. And if they would have said something, I would not have fought with them. They have no choice. Had they said something, I simply would have left and not returned to this gym until sobriety returned, until Ari Elder was elected governor of California, which would coincide with sobriety returning. For the record, God, I mean, to watch what people have accepted irrationally. Now, I comment on this regularly because it continues. I wouldn't comment on it if it didn't continue. All right, anyway, I bless you, Ron DeSantis. Here's something you probably didn't know. It's from Issues and Insights, a terrific website. A new report shows greenhouse gas emissions are not an American or Western problem. They are primarily a Chinese problem. A study from Sun Yat-sen University in China found that more than half of the world's urban greenhouse gas emissions are generated in only 25 big cities, and 23 of them are located in China. How's that? In other words, if the entire developed world cut its greenhouse gas emissions, as activists, politicians, journalists, and celebrities demand, nothing would change regarding the climate, and that assumes human carbon dioxide emissions are responsible for warming the planet, which is a load of speculation that's yet to be proved, as they point out. But even if you believe that, and I'm agnostic on that one, I'm not agnostic on whether the world is getting warmer. I'm just not troubled by it. But people's the ease with which you could scare people, I think that global warming was the test case. Can we scare people on the basis of saying scientists say? Science says. Or what is their favorite line? Oh, their favorite line is the science is settled. I love that line. The science is settled. Yes, the science was settled about the government pyramid. Remember that? On what you should be eating most? Grains? The government science settled recommendations for eating are one of the reasons for the obesity problem in the United States. The government misled people, not intentionally, it's irrelevant, but misled people profoundly on what they should be eating. Hence you have the idiocy at supermarkets and at airports of non-fat yogurt with sugar. It should be full-fat yogurt without sugar. But hey, what's crappy food if it sounds right? It's too bad the word for fat is fat. You know that I broadcast this about 25 years ago? That carbs are the issue, not fat. Anyway, 25 cities produce more than half of the world's gas emissions, and urban gas emissions, let's put greenhouse gas emissions, and 23 of them are in China. If I were a leader of the Chinese government, I would assume that the omens look good for the Chinese Communist Party. The West, we in China don't need to do anything. Just watch the West commit suicide. And then we could become the dominant force in the world. You know, China means Middle Kingdom, center of the world. The Jews have the notion of chosen people, and every people has some sense of that. Only the Jews is the most famous. But the Chinese believe they're the center of the world, and they are going to act upon it. 1-8-PRAGER-776. I'm Dennis Prager.
The Dennis Prager Show, live from the Relief Factor Pain-Free Studio. Dennis Prager Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 3 minutes, 45 seconds. The Dennis Prager Show on the Salem Radio Network returns from break in 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Get back or I'll shoot you.
No one's left inside for the pastor and his 2 daughters.
And if you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not gonna stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
I had studied Marxist history, beginning with Marx.
Hello, my friends. I'm Dennis Prager. And want to remind you of a fantastic product, Pure Talk. You can save $800 per family a year. It sounded too good for me to believe, and I don't ever advocate anything to you personally that I haven't used or know someone who uses. So I actually signed up with them. They're the same service as T-Mobile, Verizon, and what is the other guy? T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. I always forget AT&T. I don't know why. I guess because I've used T-Mobile and Verizon. That's why. I got the answer. So I signed up, got a phone. They have great rates on brand new phones, whether iPhones or any other type. And my friends, it's fantastic. Why wouldn't you want to save $800? Just dial pound 250. You get, by the way, it's $30 a month. Unlimited text, unlimited talk. $30 a month. And if you go over there, they'll charge you to get $50 off first month. Pound 250, Dennis Prager. Pound on your phone now. Pound 250, say Dennis Prager. The Cleveland Indians exist no longer. That's right. The left fights make-believe monsters. They live in a make-believe world. Every single leftist. Liberals are wimpy. They don't fight the left. But they don't live in the same world as the left. What they do is they ignore what the left does. You ask a liberal, you think Cleveland Indians is a bad thing? Think it dishonors Indians to have a team named the Indians? Probably saying, no, I don't think so. But a leftist, ooh. This is the battles that they fight. There's great evil on earth. They've never fought great evil like communism. The left fights the Indians. Wow. That's really something, isn't it? To think of the idiocy of it all. It's just idiocy. Why doesn't having a team named after the Indians honor Indians? It does, in fact. That's why they named the team the Indians. Meant that they were real fighters. Something to lead the team to victory. I've told this on a number of occasions. A man many years ago, said, oh yeah, how would you feel if a team were named with the Jews? Knowing that I'm a Jew. And I said, sir, Jews have been looking for fans for 3,000 years. Be one of the great days in Jewish history. Let's go Jews. Cheerleaders for the Jews. Man, that sounds great to me. Why is there any Jew who would think it dishonored Jews to have the team named the Jews? You're a Jew fan? Great. Everything about the left is despicable. It alternates between despicable and stupid. It's often both. This is their passion. Oh, no more Cleveland Indians. It's been the name of the team since 1915. It's such a kick in the teeth to Cleveland Indians fans. You don't matter. Woke matters. F you. It's a gigantic F you to Cleveland Indians fans. And frankly to baseball fans. Oh, they're called the Guardians now. Oh, that is sexy. Wow. This is from Cleveland.com. The guy writes here, I know owner Paul Dolan felt tremendous pressure to change the name of the team in 2018. I interviewed Dolan about dropping the Chief Wahoo logo. He said straight out there was no intention of changing the team name. Here's the exact quote from 3.5 years ago. Not only are we adamant about keeping the name Indians, but the commissioner, Rob Manfred, is similarly supportive of the name. Yes, some people will continue to make noise about that, but I'm not troubled by its use. The commissioner is not troubled by the use of the name. We are confident the name will continue on. But, it's hard to fight NBC, CBS, ABC, NPR. I assume the Cleveland Plain Dealer. I'm saying I assume, I don't know for a fact. You'll tell me, Cleveland listeners. And NPR. Did I mention NPR? What about NPR? Did I mention NPR? I did mention NPR because I really don't want to forget NPR. The smooth-talking left-wing nationalized news service, because you don't get enough independent leftist news. You need a national news service subsidized by taxpayer money to bring you left-wing news. There were no plans to change the name until the murder of George Floyd. Now, that's really related to Indians, isn't it? That's really related. Under 20 unarmed blacks are killed a year in the United States by police. So we'll change the name of the team that has existed for how long? Let's see, 105 years. I think it's since 1915. Came up right after the NFL's Washington Redskins dropped their nickname. Washington was under enormous corporate pressure to change its name. Corporations are despicable. Everything about them is despicable. I've said this for decades. They are completely amoral institutions. There's no moral backbone at Coca-Cola or at any of these other places. Nothing's listen to anger. That's what it is. And some are activists in their hatred of this country, like Nike. Hard for me to imagine buying a Nike product. The tribe will never say it, but they feared the same would happen to them. Interest groups would pressure key corporate sponsors not to advertise with the team if they remained the Indians. So what you do is you tell your fans, you take a vote in Cleveland. That's what I would do. Take a vote in Cleveland. On one side of the ballot is, do we follow Coca-Cola and Nike? On the other is, do we say F you to Nike and Coca-Cola? And I would even spell it out with asterisks. Then if there's a resounding vote, imagine 70-30. Because after all, a fair number of people in Cleveland went to college and they would vote to change the name. 1-8 Prager 776. Another defeat for tradition and for rationality.
Trending now on America First with Sebastian Burka.
What is your message to those who think this isn't a big deal or who feel cowed and intimidated? What do you say to them?
Anytime you say something like what I'm about to say, I'm sure it can be abused and misused, so I'll be very careful in how I say it. I've never read Hitler's Mein Kampf, but I've picked it up recently in the past week because I'm interested in learning everything I can about history. After spending just a day with his Mein Kampf, the spirit and essence of his race hatred that shows up in that book, a set of two books, is very similar to what I'm seeing show up in How to Be an Anti-Racist.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
I want to talk about what's happening in New York with Letitia James and what I consider to be a political persecution unlike anything, I think, in American political history. How are you guys dealing with this? And do you guys see this as, you obviously said this last night, but as a continuation of almost this 5-year political witch hunt?
100%. I mean, it's pretty clear when the Attorney General of a state, without any information, literally campaigns on saying, "Hey, we're going to investigate, we're going to lock them up, we're going to do this, that, and the other." It's pretty amazing that they can get away with it, and then they do it, and then they do it for 5 years. And the reality is this: there's no recourse. There's no one keeping them in check, Charlie. They can just do this. You have no where to appeal it to. You're going to appeal it to a leftist judge in New York who feels the same way. They're utilizing their taxpayer-funded offices in a political vendetta to try to damage my father. And the reality is this: even after 5 years, in search of a crime, right? They've been looking for 5 years. They're getting closer, Charlie. We've been hearing this now literally for half a decade, and yet there's still nothing there, and yet no one's stopping them. So as crime rates go through the roof in New York, as murder rates go through the roof, as businesses are going out of business because of New York's disastrous recovery response, they're spending taxpayer dollars on a political witch hunt against Donald Trump rather than, I don't know, murderers. This is what's going on in America. They're outraged when this stuff happens in, I guess, Belarus recently, right?
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
If you're longing for a place that feels like pre-pandemic America, I'll tell you right now, Las Vegas is one of them. What's your community? Tell me what your town is like and how you would respond to being in a theater with 1,800 other people, elbow to elbow. Here's Mike. What's the upstate of South Carolina, Mike, life like, Mike?
Mike, it is wide open for business, baby. We are rocking and rolling, and we cannot get enough people to work. So come on down here and grab yourself a job.
I love it. That makes me happy. Coming back to work makes me happy. Thank you, Mike.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending.
Is Cleveland.com the Cleveland Plain Dealer name for the website? You want to check that out? Take a look. Cleveland.com, is that the Cleveland Plain Dealer? So while they're fighting, I mean, the left really, you have to understand, the left, like anyone who doesn't fight real evil, they fight made-up evils. They're children. They make up monsters that don't exist. Cleveland Indians is a made-up monster. But here's a headline. That's what I thought. They're in partnership with the Plain Dealer. It's like war numbers. Cleveland endures worst homicide rate in recent history in 2020. Cleveland's homicide rate in 2020, the worst in recent history. There you go. And the vast majority of people of color, usually blacks, and the left is fighting the Cleveland Indians' name. Yeah, these are true fools. I learned this also, like everything else, or no, not everything, but almost everything. I learned it from a religious aphorism. I learned that in Hebrew. In English it goes, let's see, those who are kind to the cruel, be cruel to the kind. Very true. It's a great truth. That, by the way, is really a summation of the left. Cruel to the kind and kind to the cruel. What's her name? The woman who made up, who formulated the 1619 lie about America at the New York Times. Nicole Hannah-Jones. So I read to you yesterday, she said that blacks in Cuba have it better than blacks in America. So she's anti-America and pro the communist regime. It's perfect. The perfect example of kind to the cruel will be cruel to the kind. Hannah Nicole Jones. Is that right, Nicole Jones? Yeah. She is a perfect example of that Hebrew aphorism.
Nicole Hannah Jones.
Nicole Hannah Jones? What did I say? Hannah Nicole Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough name. What's her first name?
Nicole.
Nicole, okay. Her friends call her Nikki. But I'm not her friend. That's the way it works. So here you have Cleveland suffering under this onslaught of murder. And what are they really up in arms about? Not that. Rather, the Cleveland Indians. Major victory for the left. No victory for Indians. No victory for baseball. Major league sports are being shattered by the left. Because nothing should remain standing. The left destroys everything it touches every single day. Virtually, I bring you an example. This is another one. But listen to the way this is. When is this from?
League champs, the New York Yankees.
Yeah, oh, it's a movie, Major League, yeah, that's right. Feathers, I never heard that. That's cute. What's tradition to the left? Tradition to the left should be wiped out. It's like the French Revolution. You know, the French Revolution started a new calendar. Year one began with the revolution. It wasn't 1789, it was year one. That's the way it is with all leftists. The past is rubbish. Rubbish, as they'd say in Yorkshire. So listen to the way they describe, why is there so much more murder this year, or last year, 2020? Why? A weak economy, high unemployment rates, failing schools, and high child poverty levels all plagued Cleveland in 1982. The same issues remain in 2020, laid bare by the coronavirus pandemic that limited access to social services and increased social isolation that devastated people's mental health. So why did you advocate at the Cleveland Plain Dealer that there be social isolation? Don't you know how utterly and totally destructive the lockdowns were? But anyway, that's not what I want to point out. Not a word about police. Not a word. Not a word about the signals from the left and the elite of this country, including probably the Cleveland Plain Dealer, that blacks who murder have an excuse. Whites who murder don't. That's the message from the left, correct? It isn't even subtle. Last night I had dinner with the Relief Factor people, and I'm telling you, I've always respected the product. I know more about it now. The thing is just amazing. It's an anti-inflammatory, but it doesn't have any of the side effects of ibuprofen. So it's an incredibly healthful thing to take if you have any inflammation, especially a joint or muscle pain. And you'll know in 3 weeks if it works. And there's a 3-week price, $20. ReliefFactor.com, 800-500-8384.
Anyway, listen to the...
Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Yesterday, General Milley told a congressional hearing that there is no chance, very unlikely and very little motivation for the People's Republic of China on this, the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, to assault Taiwan in the near term. Quote, there's no reason to do it militarily, and they know that. So I think the probability is probably low in the immediate near-term future. Your reaction, Senator Cotton?
Well, I think that's right. Up through the end of the Beijing Olympics in February, Russia didn't invade Crimea, and 8 months before the Sochi Olympics in 2014, they invaded it 4 days after those Olympics ended.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Surprise! Sharon and you what?
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Really though, thanks for thinking of me for this position.
I thought about you first. Come on, growing up, I had a huge crush on you.
There are things that we all need to change about ourselves, but we can't blame God because He helps us change.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to
show. Just remember that motto. It's from the Talmud, actually. Talmud is the second most sacred work in Jewish history or in Judaism. First is the Bible, then the Talmud. Talmud is the size of a giant encyclopedia. It's in Aramaic mostly, and it's almost 2,000 years old. Mostly legal discussions, but a lot of philosophy, a lot of stories, homilies. I mean, it's everything. It's very dense. If you cherry pick the great lines, you really end up with some terrific insights. This is one of the great lines. Those who are kind to the cruel will be cruel to the kind. Nothing better summarizes the left throughout its history. Yeah, kind to communists and cruel to America. Just to give you an example. I'm disgusted by the Cleveland Indians dropping its name. I have no interest in the teams specifically. I do have interest in American tradition. No one is hurt by that name. It is a make-believe war, like most of their wars. They're make-believe. Realize that? Make-believe. Yes. Police brutality against blacks is make-believe. They're all make-believe wars. And the lying New York Times and Washington Post, the lying media, as President Trump 100% correctly stated. That's why they kept saying he's a liar. Because he told the truth about them. So they had to dismiss him. They didn't defend their lies. They didn't even react to the charges. They just kept calling him a liar. And it works. So everybody thinks he was a big liar. But the lies about him were much greater than the lies he told. Like the lie that he said that there were good Nazis. Man with a Jewish daughter and son-in-law and Jewish grandchildren thinks there are good Nazis. You actually believe that? Oh, you probably do. If you don't, never listen to talk radio or Fox News or read any of the conservative sites, you believe everything. You live in a unidimensional world of the lie. Massive murder rate in Cleveland, but they're fighting the Cleveland Indians logo. Whoa. That's the left for you. Freddie in Arkansas, Dennis Prager. Hello, Freddie.
Hey, Dennis.
Hi.
I just want to thank you for, opening my eyes to what's going on out there. I didn't really pay attention to any politics or anything whatsoever. I didn't even know the left was a thing or that they even existed. It's kind of like, but now, after I'm going on about a year listening to you, you've opened my eyes to quite a bit. So it's quite terrifying what's going on out there.
That's right. You know how I know I opened your eyes? Because you used the word terrifying. It is. That's exactly right. How did you find me?
I was browsing through the radio and just, I ran into you were saying something. I don't know what now. I mean, it was over a year ago. And
no, that's all right. I was curious. Browsing through the radio. I love it.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you're there.
Your metaphors are great, too. But
I'm sorry?
I said your metaphors are great, too.
That's right. They're
but anyway,
important.
I was talking about the Indians. You were the Cleveland Indians. I got a good friend of mine at the pharmacy where I work that is a big fan of the Kansas City Chiefs in the NFL, and their logo is a Chief Indian. So are they catching any slack?
I know. That's a very good question. Thank you, Freddie. And welcome to the show, belatedly. Yeah, hey, Sean, what's the answer to that? You follow sports. Sean is a very, very big polo fan. Sean, what's the story with the Kansas City Chiefs? Doesn't it have isn't its logo something, an arrowhead with a KC in it? Yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, that's the next thing to agitate. Leftists live to agitate. What can we disrupt today? What innocuous battle can we fight today? That is what wakes up a leftist every morning. That's right. They removed the Arrowhead logo from the stadium scoreboard, but they're still keeping Kansas City Chiefs. But and it's called Arrowhead Stadium? Well, wait a minute. Isn't there Arrowhead water? Ooh. I wouldn't be caught dead drinking Arrowhead water. Bigoted act. That would be such a bigoted act. Yes, indeed. Mike in Libertyville. Where is Libertyville? What state?
We're just north of Chicago.
Yeah, I thought it was, but I didn't want to guess. Okay, great.
There's a good cigar shop here for you, too, so whenever you come out this way.
Now you made my day, my friend. You did. I'll be there, by the way. I'm coming out to Chicago for cigar night, my annual cigar night. I hope, if it's not sold out, I hope you come.
Thank you. Love to. Thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Someone with an Irish surname, I've been offended by this. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
I don't know how you sleep well at night.
And it's been years since I've been in a fight.
Is that why you're offended? You're so right. Thank you very much, Mike. I really do hope I see you. He's so right. Well, the fighting Irish. Oh man. Why aren't the Irish offended? What about the San Diego Padres? Why aren't Catholic priests offended? Really, if Indians is offensive, why isn't Padres? Well, the Vikings is a strange name, given all the miserable things that they did. What about the Pirates? That's the one that cracks me up the most. Pirates were despicable. But that's okay.
Bad things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Donald Rumsfeld is famous for many things. Before Donald Trump, there was Newt Gingrich in the 2012 campaign, demonstrating hostility to the media and confrontation with the media. But before there was Newt Gingrich, there was Donald Rumsfeld, demonstrating command of the media. Most famous for his combination of command and concise knowledge is this cut, which is his most famous response to a question.
There are reports that there is no evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
There are known knowns. There are things we know we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Excuse me, but is this an unknown unknown?
I'm not.
Several unknowns, and I'm just wondering.
I'm not going to say which it is.
Mr. Secretary,
I'm right here. I'm right here.
See, Rumsfeld knew exactly what he was doing. It makes perfect sense, and that's why his memoir is known as Known Unknowns. But for the full tutorial on how to deal with the media, here is a press situation with Donald Rumsfeld on April the 11th, 2003. Listen to how he deals with a hostile press.
I picked up a newspaper today, and I couldn't believe it. I read 8 headlines that talked about chaos, violence, unrest, and it just was henny penny. The sky is falling. I've never seen anything like it. And here is a country that's being liberated.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
When did you wake up and say, hang on, this is not good?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in for over 15 years. The first 14 years of my career, I was in the Air Force, was in the flying community, and then came into the Space Force. Every unit that I've ever been
Hi, everybody. This portion of the Dennis Prager Show is brought to you by the Delta variant. You, too, can get the Delta variant. Just dial pound 936 and say Dennis Delta. Delta Prager. That's right, Delta Prager, DP. Living in the age of idiocy. Which reinforces my belief that the famous statement of the Psalms is correct. Wisdom begins with fear of God. No God, no wisdom. God is that. That was one of the great revelations of my life. It happened when I was 23 at Columbia University, graduate school, international affairs. You could read about that column up on the internet. I have 1,000 columns up there, literally 1,000. How I found God at Columbia. The secular world is so stupid that it's so bereft of wisdom that it keeps me religious. There are a lot of religious fools. But there is not a single wise secular institution. Not one. Every secular institution is stupid. Not just wrong, stupid. Why don't people draw any conclusions from that? Because they don't want to. And because nobody has drawn their attention to it. Yes, indeed. That's so interesting. John in Libertyville, Illinois. Another Libertyville call. Today is Libertyville Day on the Dennis Prager Show. Hello, John.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I am used to hearing you say all the time, the left does this, the left does that, the left thinks this, and I've come to realize that it's an easy way to avoid talking about who you really mean. But you just said a little while ago...
Well, your realization is foolish. I say all the time. The New York Times, the Washington Post, the Los Angeles Times, NPR, CBS, ABC, NBC, CNN. Columbia University, Harvard University, Yale University, the University of Colorado, Michigan State University. Okay? That's who the left is.
Okay, since you have a vast well of diabolical leftists to draw from, I want to ask you, you just said the left says that when a black person kills someone, it's excusable. Who said that?
The Cleveland Plain Dealer in what I read to you. Why don't you listen to my show? Here. The reason all these black murders are taking place, it's in the Cleveland Plain Dealer, January 1st, 2021. High unemployment rates, failing schools, weak economy. Nothing to do with the black murderers. White racism caused them to kill.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
Las Vegas, I mean, it is open for business. It is wide open. It's unreal how different things are in a place like Las Vegas. I mean, somebody look up, Derek, see how many seats the O show at the Bellagio holds. How many seats are in that theater? The show is called O at the Bellagio. See how many seats it holds. It was packed. I mean, there's no social distancing going on in Las Vegas. There just isn't. Now, does that disturb you? Or does that make you happy? Does it bother you to know that there are communities that, like Las Vegas, that have a theater that I sat in and was in amazement at the Las Vegas production of O at the Bellagio with 1,800 seats, and it was packed. It was sold out. There weren't seats between other seats. There weren't empty seats blocked out with stupid X marks. And incidentally, on the topic of Las Vegas, may I respectfully suggest a must-see show if you like Vegas like I do. I don't do a whole lot of gambling. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I love the theaters, the shows. I love the hotels. I love the restaurants. I love the vibe of Las Vegas. The Magic of Jen Kramer at the Westgate is a must-see.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
We've had 6 months of the new administration. It is the farthest thing from moderation that the government has ever seen, and it is the fastest track to extremism that we've ever had elected.
But Kevin, how did I know that in advance? Why in my debate with David French did I know this and you knew this? There was no question in my mind. So the fact that this has now happened, part of me wants to say, ha ha, but it's just too sad to say ha ha. This is something that I warned against and you warned against and others warned against because we knew that the consequences are devastating.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Topic. Yesterday, General Milley told a congressional hearing that there is no chance, not no chance, very unlikely and very little motivation for the People's Republic of China on this, the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, to assault Taiwan in the near term. Quote, there's no reason to do it militarily, and they know that. So I think the probability is probably low in the immediate near-term future. Your reaction, Senator Cotton?
Well, I think that's right. Up through the end of the Beijing Olympics in February. Russia didn't invade Crimea, and 8 months before the Sochi Olympics in 2014, they invaded it 4 days after those Olympics ended.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Surprise!
Sharon and you what?
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Really though, thanks for thinking of me for this position.
I thought about you first. Come on, growing up, I had a huge crush on you.
There are things that we all need to change about ourselves, but we can't blame God because He helps us change.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Anyway, you were talking about Bill Cosby, and I kind of disagreed with you about, you were saying about all the women. I might say maybe, 18 women?
Oh, no, it's close to 50 women that have made allegations.
50?
50, 50.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you believe all of them are telling the
you
truth?
think all 50 are lying, including Beverly Johnson, one of the first black major models in America? She said he also gave her drugs and tried to rape her.
I'm a woman, and what I'm saying is, and they're in Hollywood. He's a high-profile man,
mm-hmm.
and they wanted to be alone with him. They might not have wanted his advances, but it's kind of
Lynn, please. There's no doubt that.
Here we go. It's the happy hour. Yes, it is. Hey, everybody. It's the Happiness Hour on the Dennis Prager Show. Every Friday, the second hour of this program since 1999. The same century as the Wright brothers' first flight. That's right. Well, so was I. My friends, the happy make the world better. It's the happy hour. My friends, the happy make the world better, the unhappy make it worse. A moral obligation to pursue happiness. Yes, moral obligation. Moral obligation to act happy even if you don't feel it. Most of the time, sometimes we understand it's not possible. You've just lost a loved one. We don't expect you to walk around cheerfully. But in general, imposing your bad mood on others should be regarded as imposing your bad breath or bad body odor on others. You wash them away, you should wash your mood away. That's my view, and it's affected a lot of people. Today's subject on the Happiness Hour is actually one of the topics of my book, Happiness is a Serious Problem. Everybody has an image. It's on the chapter on images. Everybody has an image. We have an image, I suspect, from a very early age of what our happy life would look like. Most people do not get to live out their image. So what do? Do you despair? No. The advice that I give in the book is cultivate another image. It's very rare that only one image can bring happiness. We think that way in the beginning, and then it turns out other. Yesterday I recorded a fireside chat for PragerU. I do that. It was 198th fireside chat. Didn't miss a week in 198 weeks. I pre-record if I'm on the road. Be speaking in Hungary in a few weeks, so I was pre-recording one for that week. And I take questions. Mostly young people around the world send in questions. And some young person, I don't remember from where, asked about the issue of, do you follow your passions or do you follow the more practical road in life? So I gave examples of people who didn't follow their passion, and it ended up being a phenomenal source of happiness and a passion. In other words, I didn't tie it into the images issue because I was responding to the specific question, but I am tying it in right now. My father, may he rest in peace, his image was to be a doctor. That was his image. He loved medicine. However, as the child of a very poor family in Depression America, and his father, my grandfather, whom I never knew. I knew my other grandfather, but not that one. And that man was essentially an unemployed tailor for much of his life. You're not going to make money if you're unemployed, and he wasn't making money on the side as a tailor. So there was no money to send my father to medical school. So my father became an accountant, something he never even imagined. Turned out that he loved being an accountant his whole life. He practiced his accountancy work until the age of 90. He was my accountant till he was 90. He was phenomenal at what he did. I'm not going to give the reasons he loved it. They are interesting, though, why he loved being an accountant. They were very valid reasons. Maybe in the course of the hour it'll come out. But in any event, there's a perfect example of changing his image. His image of a happy life, professionally speaking, he always had an image of being a married man. But professionally speaking, it was to be a doctor. Turned out had to change his image, and he ended up a very happy accountant. Young man I know, my stepson, unbelievably talented in IT. This is the last thing he imagined in his life. In high school, the only class left for, this sort of extracurricular work that was expected of kids was building sets for high school plays. He was as interested in building sets for high school plays, well, I guess, as I would be. He actually got good at it. He actually then got great at it. Found incredible ability to work in computers. Anything that involves the creation, the modification, and is now very gainfully employed. Great reputation in his field. All because he ended up in the last thing he wanted. Set building. How many of you, I actually did an hour. This is not what I'm going to do the hour about, so don't call in on this. But I did an hour once. Are you living out the image you had about your future life in high school? And by the way, some people are. I don't deny that that's a possibility. Most people don't. But some people do. They had an image of X, Y, and Z, and by golly, X, Y, and Z took place. But if image A fails or just never occurs, you need another image. And that's the story that I'm about to relate to you. It is up at Medium by Joel Alperson, longtime friend of mine, as it happens, but I would be using this column even if I didn't know him. The article up at Medium is up at DennisPrager.com, How to Marry and Have 4 Newborns at 60, and why this matters even if you're only 25. So he describes a life that is so far from what he imagined it. Remember, image and imagine come from the same root. What he imagined has not transpired, but what he has is fantastic. So he describes his life now. He's married to a Chinese woman. He's 60. She's in her late 40s. The end of the story is a Chinese woman in her late 40s. This is not Chinese American. This is Chinese. I should add. And an American man of almost 60. This is 3 years ago. Were almost living their dream. As unlikely as this story is, 2 incredibly different lives from 2 continents, I might add 2 cultures, had joined to bring Hannah, Rachel, Aaron, and David into this world. By the way, I spent time with Hannah, Rachel, Aaron, and David, 2 sets of twins, which I will explain as well, this past week, because I stopped in Nebraska where they live. Imagine that. Imagine you're a Chinese woman in rural China. You live your whole life in China, and you end up in Nebraska. It's very doubtful she had ever heard of Nebraska in her life. It might as well have been Mongolia. In fact, I'm sure she did hear of Mongolia, since that's way closer to China than Nebraska. And that's not the only change. Anyway, he describes that this woman had worked 9 years for his business, which he had in China. But there was never, as he writes, a hint of anything romantic between them, not even a flirt. And he writes, this was more my doing than hers. After all, she wasn't Jewish, and I wanted to have a Jewish family. She was an employee. She lived in China and was married. What's more, it was around that time that I hired W-E-I, that I met the woman I would marry. He married, and then he divorced. Then we'll continue.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Donald Rumsfeld is famous for many things. Before Donald Trump, there was Newt Gingrich in the 2012 campaign, demonstrating hostility to the media and confrontation with the media. But before there was Newt Gingrich, there was Donald Rumsfeld, demonstrating command of the media. Most famous for his combination of command and concise knowledge is this cut, which is his most famous response to a question.
There are reports that there is no evidence of a direct link between Baghdad and some of these terrorist organizations.
There are known knowns. There are things we know. We also know there are known unknowns. That is to say, we know there are some things we do not know. But there are also unknown unknowns. The ones we don't know, we don't know.
Excuse me, but is this an unknown unknown?
I'm not.
Several unknowns, and I'm just wondering.
I'm not going to say which it is.
Mr. Secretary,
I'm right here. I'm right here.
See, Rumsfeld knew exactly what he was doing. It makes perfect sense, and that's why his memoir is known as Known Unknowns. But for the full tutorial on how to deal with the media, here is a press situation with Donald Rumsfeld on April the 11th, 2003. Listen to how he deals with a hostile press.
I picked up a newspaper today, and I couldn't believe it. I read 8 headlines that talked about chaos, violence, unrest, and it just was henny penny. The sky is falling. I've never seen anything like it. And here is a country that's being liberated.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
When did you wake up and say, hang on, this is not good?
Well, like I said earlier, I've been in for over 15 years. The first 14 years of my career, I was in the Air Force, was in the flying community, and then came into the Space Force. Every unit that I've ever been in, all of my professional interactions with people during the preponderance of my career have been highly professional, not politicized. We focus on a mission that unifies us. We wear the same uniform, and we go out and do our job every day. And when I noticed personally these things really rapidly beginning to change was in the past calendar year, but specifically in the aftermath of George Floyd's death. What you saw in broader society in the form of social justice activism pouring into the streets, the disruption of civil liberties, for example, and the dialogue, if you want to call it that ensued in the aftermath is the very thing that I saw just spill over into active duty military units. Now, I'll be clear that every unit is different, every leader is different, every base is different. But that's when I was really keen on seeing this happen. Now, I've been in academia for the past 2 years. And so what I'm able to share is simply one man's perception of when this is. I left academia in June of last year and came out to my current base and have had these experiences. But it's my sense that the seeds are planted long ago. This is a subversive agenda.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at Rumble.
Hi, everybody. Happiness Hour, Dennis Prager Show. Second hour every Friday. Everybody has images on how their life should be or turn out. What if it doesn't turn out that way? Then you simply make another image. That's what you do. That's the way it is in life. Image A didn't work out. You make image B. That'll give you some joy. Piece up in Medium.com about a man who deeply wanted to get married. Didn't do so until 47. And then 7 years later, he divorced. They divorced. And so then he's 54. No children, no family, no wife. Deeply committed Jew, wanted a Jewish family. And at the end of the story, but I'm developing the story as it goes in medium.com, and it's up at my website. So he changed his image. Fell in love in China with a Chinese woman who was too old, being in her late 40s, to have kids of her own. But he didn't give up. So he didn't have the exact same image be realized, and I can vouch for how happy he is, as I know him so well. All right, so I'm continuing his article. It's about W-E-I, the woman. Worked for him for 9 years. There was not a hint of affection between them or any interest in the other. And, as he writes, after all, she wasn't Jewish. I wanted to have a Jewish family. She was an employee. She lived in China, and she was married. That's pretty, that works against getting together. It was around the time that I hired that I met the woman I would marry. And one more reason I was never considering a relationship with But his life is rarely predictable and sometimes horribly unfair. This seemingly impossible to marry single, that's he, himself, who married for the first time at 47, saw his marriage end in divorce after only 7 years. I was shattered. The part of my life I most wanted was now over. And finally, starting a race that almost everyone else I knew was running, I found myself behind the starting line again. The realization was cruel and unrelenting. It took me weeks before I could tell anyone, other than my closest friends and family, that I was getting a divorce. I was too ashamed and sad to admit it openly. By the way, it's very common for people to be embarrassed when they get divorced. If I was late in the game getting married at 47, how much later was I in hoping to be married again and start a family in my mid-50s? That starting line was looking old and faded. But it's funny. Things can happen. Or it's funny things can happen when one is running out of time. As options narrow, choices that once seemed crazy can seem perfectly reasonable. And so, as someone who is traveling to China for business 7 to 8 times a year, I asked myself, why not date in China? And who would help me start to search for a wife in China? After over 10 years of employing her, I told that of all the women I had met in China, the one I most wanted to be with was her. She was stunned, both for the reason I expected and for one I hadn't. She had now committed to marrying another man. I felt even worse when she added that she had been interested in me for years. But like a professional poker player, she'd had no tells. She never betrayed her feelings even slightly. Still, I felt like someone who realized only after ignoring repeated airport flight announcements that his flight had left. Eventually, they separated and virtually all contact between them ended. It was after this separation and her plans for a divorce that we started talking about our future together. Another challenge was how we could quickly have the 2 or 3 children we wanted. Yes, we have 4. As we were still living in China, we chose to have our children in Asia. And as she was too old to have them naturally, we used surrogates. The laws surrounding this type of childbirth forced us to operate in multiple countries. Listen to this. Are you ready? It's a Jewish guy in Nebraska, remember. A friend of us helped us find 2 surrogates in Thailand, and the embryos were implanted in Cambodia. And the children were delivered in China. You talk about not exactly having that image. He thought he would marry an American Jewish woman and have kids with her and live happily ever after. And he marries a Chinese woman with Thai surrogates carrying eggs and he having them implanted with his seed, as it were, in Cambodia, of all places, and then delivered. The final moral: don't wait for life to turn out exactly as you imagine, because it probably won't. By the time I was 30, I expected to have married and started a family with an American Jewish woman. Over the years, I missed so many opportunities because they didn't match the image I had for my life. And yet, by the age of 60, I had married a non-Jewish woman from China who converted to Judaism and had 4 children with me, all delivered within 6 weeks. As he put it, he went from 0 to 4 in 6 weeks. How do you like that? At the age of 60, or nearly 60. That was hardly the life I had planned, but it is a beautiful life. And that is the point. For too many years, the perfect life I thought would make me happy prevented me from living the life that ultimately did make me happy. Good line, eh? For too many years, the perfect life I thought would make me happy prevented me from living the life that did make me happy.
Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
We've had 6 months of the new administration. It is the farthest thing from moderation that the government has ever seen, and it is the fastest track to extremism that we've ever had elected.
But Kevin, how did I know that in advance? Why in my debate
because
with
I
David
told you.
French did I know this and you knew this? There was no question in my mind. So the fact that this has now happened, you know, part of me wants to say, ha ha, but it's just too sad to say ha ha. This is something that I warned against and you warned against and others warned against because we knew that the consequences are devastating.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on the Hugh Hewitt Show.
Topic. Yesterday, General Milley told a congressional hearing that there is no chance, not no chance, very unlikely and very little motivation for the People's Republic of China on this, the 100th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party, to assault Taiwan in the near term. Quote, there's no reason to do it militarily, and they know that. So I think the probability is probably low in the immediate near-term future. Your reaction, Senator Cotton?
Well, I think that's right, up through the end of the Beijing Olympics in February. Russia didn't invade Crimea in the 8 months before the Sochi Olympics in 2014. They invaded it 4 days after those Olympics ended.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Surprise! Sharon and you what?
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hannigan, it is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Really though, thanks for thinking of me for this position.
I thought about you first. Come on, growing up, I had a huge crush on you.
There are things that we all need to change about ourselves, but we can't blame God because He helps us change.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
Anyway, you were talking about Bill Cosby, and I kind of disagreed with you about, you were saying about all the women, I might say maybe 18?
All right, Dennis Prager here. 1-8-PRAGER-776. I didn't even give out the number. This is the Happiness Hour, and the theme is everyone has images of the life that will bring them happiness, and very often that image is not realized. So what does one do? You create other images. Reality will afford you the opportunity often. And then you can imagine that reality as a source of happiness. If image A fails, that doesn't mean that happiness must fail. Oh, have you adopted this in your own life? Does this make sense to you? How many people live out the image that they had? I didn't. I never thought I'd be divorced. I was the first one in Prager family history that at least we knew of. That was not my image, that my children would go between homes. And so I created a new image of a happy life for them as best as I could, and for me, with the reality as it was. I don't think any divorced person does not qualify for what I just said about an image failing. How many people imagine when they get married getting divorced? I would assume virtually none. So you have, if you want to lead a happy life, you can't be fixated on one image. This story that I read to you from Medium.com, it's up at DennisPrager.com. I mean, if you'd have told him, a Jewish guy in Nebraska, you'll end up with 4 kids, Chinese wife, 4 kids, all born within 6 weeks of each other, from Thai surrogates who were, Thai surrogates, and what was the role of Cambodia? Where he supplied, that's right, where the process of the, I want to get the exact words here. Huh. That is weird what just happened. Forgive me. There we go. The embryos were implanted in Cambodia. Okay. Thai surrogates, embryos implanted in Cambodia, born in China. Jewish guy in Nebraska. And I can vouch for his happiness. I have him on the line, and I'm going to put him on, but I want you to call in. Because you can't have a happy life if you are only wedded to one image. I mean, some people can. Some people are wedded to an image that, in fact, is realized. There are so many challenges to your image. Who doesn't have an image of children when they're born? And how many children grow up to fulfill the image that parents had of what their child would be? Images about marriage, images about success. So this is a big deal. 1-8-PRAGER 776-877-243 776, a rare opportunity to get in on a happiness hour.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Some lawyer hit a little girl.
Former cancer patient Sharon Blackwell was struck by an oncoming vehicle.
Take this into evidence, sir.
I need to call my wife.
You've been accused of texting while driving.
Before you take your daughter off life support, give God room to be God.
You're not guaranteed another day, but you have today.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Larry Elder Show.
1/3 of California small businesses will never reopen. 1/3. Many of the things that Gavin Newsom did had nothing whatever to do with science. You've heard me interview small business owners who said he imposed lockdowns and mandates and then loosened them and then reimposed them and then loosened them so nobody knew what the hell to do. The science suggested that schools could have remained open. We already have a situation where 75% of black kids in California cannot read at state levels of proficiency. Nearly half of all kids in California cannot read at state levels of proficiency, and yet schools were shut down for a full year. And the left is always talking about leveling the playing field, making sure that things are equal. How in the world are you going to get equal when you have prevented black kids, Hispanic kids from having in-school learning for over a year, and everybody knows this video learning is not the same. This is a state where you drive around in a city like LA, Bay Area underneath an overpass. On the left and on the right, whole bunch of homeless people, one after another, after another, after another, posing threats to their safety, to the safety of the non-homeless. It's non-hygienic. And then don't get me started on crime. Crime up dramatically in cities in LA. Year to year, shooting victims up 50% in LA.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Two things are happening. One is that parents across the board are starting to speak up and not take this anymore. You've seen in Loudoun, Virginia, on the critical race theory issue just the last couple of weeks, school board meetings where parents have lined up by the hundreds. They are unloading on these school boards. I have seen people activate in ways that I didn't see them in the prosperous years of President Trump. People are mad. This is not the way life goes. And to your point about girls that are competing with all of their might and they're falling short, they're not just giving up on the dream of winning that race. They're losing college scholarship opportunities. 2 years ago in Connecticut, in the high school girls track division, 15 state all-time records were shattered by two boys that ran as girls in that division.
But the leaders
Shattered
of the
15
state
records.
let this happen, Kevin. Can you
Yes.
imagine adult grown men and women elected to these positions, intelligent professional people, let this happen?
All right, y'all. Richard in Orlando, Florida. This is the Happiness Hour, Dennis Prager Show. The issue is images and happiness. And the changing of images if the first image fails. I'm going to speak to the author of the piece that I read to you. It was about as dramatic a change of vision as you can imagine within the same framework. But anyway, Richard in Orlando, Florida, hello.
Hello, Dennis. Thanks for a great topic. No, I am a high school math and physics teacher and love it, but I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be a fighter pilot when I was about 16 or 17 years old. Very bad eyesight, and that hand didn't play out. In fact, I was actually pretty bad at math. It gave me a stomachache. I got bumped around for some different classes that I wasn't prepared for, and I thought I was a failure in math. And I was bitter at God for quite a long time. But then I went back in college and started studying math and science again, and actually found that not only could I do it, I could help people who also struggled with it. And so it's my analogy is like poker. I didn't like the hand I was played. I wanted somebody else's hand. But what do? I can't change hands. I either got to play the hand I've got or I've got to quit the game. And you can't win if you quit the game. So what good can I do with the hand that I've got? And I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't trade it now for anything.
Like my father and accounting versus medicine. That's a great call. Thank you. And it's a great analogy. It's not the first to use it, but I hadn't thought of it. The hand you're dealt. The only choice is to play the hand or quit the game. Good one. That's right. So what are you going to do? Quit life? Some people do. I don't mean commit suicide. They just quit living. There are a lot of living people who have quit life. Megan in Cleveland, Ohio. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. Thanks for taking my call.
Thank you for calling.
I'm calling because I wanted to talk about the utility of having a flexible vision for your life, even though it might not work out the way you hope it to. When I was at university, I had no vision for my life. I had no idea. I was moving majors all the time. But it wasn't until I had my daughter out of wedlock that I really was able to I was so happy because it gave my life a direction. I was able to settle down and be like, okay, education, I've always thought about being a teacher. Now would be a great time to learn about childhood and childhood development, and it provided such structure, and I was very confident going into parenting that way. And it just sort of like unfolded right in front of my eyes, and now I have a passion for teaching. I always look at people who are very successful.
What happened? Hey, Sean, what happened?
I'm on mute. I'm sorry. That happens to me sometimes.
Okay,
Can you hear
good.
me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I just was saying that when I had my daughter, she provided lots of direction for my
Right,
life.
that
because I was
I
able
caught
to
all that.
decide.
Let me ask you a question. Do you is
Yes,
part
sure.
of your
Go ahead.
vision providing her with a dad?
Yeah. She has two dads. I'm gonna her dad is still in her life, and she goes there on the weekends. And
Oh, good. All right, you didn't. Yeah, okay, good.
It's open, and I'm getting married.
Oh.
I'm getting married to not her father, but
Right, no, I
a man
understand
who's
that,
been
yes.
in her life.
Right, so she will have two dads.
one.
That's great. Okay, great. So that's not the again. That's not the image that you had, but you're doing the next
Yeah,
best
because
thing.
I had no image.
Right, that's
I had
very.
no image.
Yeah, I have to deal with that. Thank you. That's a very important realization. I do that one. That's a very important realization for me. A lot of young people don't have images. I'm actually assuming that there is an original image. But I'll get married, which was the universal image when I was a young person, is no longer an image. I'll get married and make a family. Why would you want to do that? So now the image is truly non-happiness inducing. I'll have a great career. You know what people never think about who think about career as the source of happiness? What do they do after the career? A lot of people live decades after they retire from their career. What do you do for happiness then? But you know what? It is human nature not to think about old age. To the extent that 65 is even that old. But that is not what people think about. All right. Natasha in Newport Beach, California. Hello.
Hi, Dennis. How are you?
I'm well.
Good. This is so good because this relates to both my husband and myself. I was 27 and I was an acrobat with Cirque du Soleil in Las Vegas. He was 47 and an actor here in LA. I met him. We dated. He said, I've never been married. I don't want kids. You just need to know that from the beginning. And I said, yeah, that's fine. I have an exciting life in Las Vegas. I'm doing things. It's great. I got pregnant. Quit Cirque. He helped me raise our daughter, which was great, but we didn't have a relationship. We just raised her together. But during the raising of our daughter, we did form a relationship. And he thought, you know what, maybe getting married isn't such a bad idea. Of course, I had quit Cirque because you really can't be an acrobat when you're pregnant or have a little girl. So for 5 years, we raised our daughter, and then we got married. Now we have a son. My husband still acts. I'm a stay-at-home mom with my children. And neither one of us wanted this at all. He was older. He said he had no intentions of ever getting married or having children. He had a motorcycle. When he wasn't working, he went off on the motorcycle. I had an exciting life. We would have never planned this life, either one of us, ever.
And it's worked out.
We're mixed race. Everything about it.
Right. I love it. I love it. It's like the author story. I'm going to have the author on when we come back.
This is Hugh Hewitt for townhall.com. We are living in the age of surveillance capitalism. That's the title of a book by Shoshana Zuboff, whose thinking has shaped my own as we look on the growing power of big tech. The biggest flaw in most tech companies' business models is a general willingness to loot an individual's personal information, and thus his or her privacy without payment for this data and without informed consent. Did you know that a small percentage of apps provide your consent to remotely turn on your phone's microphone and record you after you sign their terms and conditions? I imagine your response is like mine. What? I'd never agree to that. I am certain a hard line on personal privacy would have a greater appeal to the public than many other issues currently separating the parties. Watch that vast uncharted space in which party moves to restore data that has been taken and to repair walls of privacy that were breached long ago. Whoever gets there first will be a long-term winner. I'm Hugh Hewitt.
Publicpolicy.pepperdine.edu. Trending now on the Charlie Kirk Show.
Why did she log on and decide that she wanted tickets as a VIP at a student summit? So first and foremost, it's inappropriate because this is a summit that's for students.
And high school kids.
And high school kids. And if these parents are giving their children permission to go to this conference, they're expecting that you're not going to have porn stars walking around. You have conservatives that defended this. Ben Domenech, Meghan McCain's husband, who runs the Federalist, because I guess she writes the Federalist, and he says this thing which got me so angry. We conservatives, she's a wonderful conservative. No, she's not a conservative. She might be a libertarian. She might be a Republican. She might be a nationalist. She's not a conservative. The word conservative, it has meaning. It has meaning, okay? So in the same way that wood cannot be water and water cannot be wood, a full frontal pornographic actress cannot be a conservative.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
See, I'm a different type of conservative. We can talk about gun stats, but I can tell you about holding a gun in my hand. I can tell you that this is the greatest country that God has ever given man because this nation has given me second and third chances. I was literally arrested, went to jail. I needed to serve probation. I was thinking I would go and serve probation. I got an opportunity to serve probation at a local church here in Orlando, Faith Assembly of God. And I came in contact with this white guy by the name of Jim Angelakis. This is hard to get through, I can't lie, because I'm so tired of people calling and saying that people.
MyPillow.com and use the promo code Prager for deep discounts. MyPillow.com or call 800-761-6302, promo code Prager. And from Nebraska, I have the author of this terrific piece, which is up at DennisPrager.com on this happiness hour. The man whose life did not quite transpire as he envisioned it, and that is the whole point of this hour and of his life. And I can vouch, having just been with his family just this few days ago in Nebraska, that this is one happy home for, I could only say, delicious children whom I just went crazy for. Joel Alperson is the man. Joel, it's a terrific article.
Thanks, Dennis. It was obviously it was great being able to live the life that allowed me to write it. And I didn't look to write an article. I really, this whole experience in my life was not about promoting myself. But
no, I know
almost every time that we went out, whether it was to the pediatrician or walking around the lake or wherever we were, people would ask about the kids because they'd see 4 kids that are, look like they're all the same age. And so they would ask us about them. And then we would explain about the surrogates and all of that. Not too much detail, but enough to give them an idea. And almost in every single case, people were happy. They were made happy by the story. And I think as I thought about it, I think the reason is it gives them hope. Not that they should have 4 kids, but whatever it is in their life that maybe might seem out of reach or difficult to achieve, maybe when somebody does something like this, maybe it gives them hope in their own life for the things that they most want. And that happened enough times, I thought, all right, people said, you need to write a book, a movie, whatever. Okay, I don't know so much about a movie. A book is a possibility, maybe. But at least the article to start with, because so many people really were heartened by the story. And that's how it came about.
I didn't know that, and I think that's a very powerful impetus that you realize. I didn't know this either. Obviously I know you well and I know your life, but I didn't realize that when you would tell people the story, strangers that you would meet, it gave them hope. It makes perfect sense.
They became, listen, when they became that happy, it's one thing to smile and say it's very nice.
Right.
But they really became happy and effusive about it. And I thought, this story is making a difference to them in some way. And if in some way, shape, or form, our happiness and what we've accomplished in our lives can be transmitted to others, then it's just that much better. So,
well, you did a good
wherever
deed.
It goes, it'll...
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
You did a good deed, and it's a great article. It is up at DennisPrager.com. Joel Alperson, the author, and I am his kid's Uncle Dennis. Now call it,
Streaming on Salem Now.
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend.
You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hanning! It is good to have you home!
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Mike Gallagher Show.
Leading researchers there have been disappeared. Goodness knows where they are. We saw them deny what was taking place in their lab, and then we saw them, and this is important, export the virus. Right. They knew they had people who were sick. They knew that was a very contagious virus, and they knew that it was lethal. And they said, hop on planes, travel the world, go to Milan, Italy, travel to Europe, and you can see now millions of dead all across America. The Chinese Communist Party is evil, for sure. They don't care about human life, and we've got to find a way collectively to hold them accountable.
But will they ever be accountable for this virus, Mr. Secretary? Will China ever? I mean, we all acknowledge there's this massive cover-up. Was it an effective enough cover-up that will prevent them from ever bearing or having any accountability for what happened?
It can't be the case. It can't be the case. It can't be that what the Washington Post and New York Times did for a year, which was to cover for them, right? When we were talking about where this came from, when we called it the Wuhan virus, and they said, "Mike, you're a racist." We can't let them get away with this. And I mean that as an American. I mean this is someone who participated in the global diplomatic efforts. Had they killed this many people through any other mechanism, I can assure you the world would be on fire. I think this will get out. I think people or head of governments across the world. I've talked to folks from India. I've talked to citizens in Australia. I've talked to people all over the world. They know what happened. They know who the Chinese Communist Party is. I'm convinced they're going to demand that they're leaders. And frankly, I hope that Americans will demand that President Biden use the tools that he has in his arsenal to hold the Chinese Communist Party accountable for the billions of dollars in wealth that was lost and for all the lives that were lost here in the United States as well.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Some lawyer hit a little girl.
Former cancer patient Sharon Blackwell was struck by an oncoming vehicle.
Take this into evidence, sir.
I need to call my wife.
You've been accused of texting while driving.
Before you take your daughter off life support, give God room to be God.
You're not guaranteed another day, but you have today.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com.
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me quote Kurt Campbell to you, because I do believe he is the senior Indo-Pac spokesperson within the White House and the Biden administration, and President Biden has not contradicted him. Quote, I believe that there are some significant downsides to the kind of what is called strategic clarity that you lay out, Campbell said in talking to the Financial Times. I think any conflict with China would broaden quickly, and it would fundamentally trash the global economy in ways that I don't think anyone can predict. Now, that seems to me to be an invitation to the Chinese Communist Party to attack Taiwan.
Look, I don't know the spokesperson. I don't know why he spoke that way, but he sounds like he's speaking to some sort of, think tank gathering. These words are being read in Beijing, and they've already got preconceived notions about this administration. This is only going to further that.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry yesterday, again, breaking news, Senator, accused the G7 foreign ministers gathering of meddling, that's the quote, in its internal affairs after those foreign ministers backed participation of Taiwan in the WHO. Is that meddling, and should Taiwan be in the WHO, Marco Rubio?
To turn over the Taiwanese people's health care and health decisions at the global scale to the Chinese Communist Party is absurd. So they should absolutely be a part of it. And China calls anything that's a criticism of their actions as internal meddling. That's the code word they use. And by the way, it's what they go around the world telling governments is, don't worry, we're not going to get involved in your internal politics. Of course, they get involved in our internal politics and everybody else's. I mean, you can't produce a Hollywood film today that's critical of China because the studios know that it won't be distributed in China.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, booyah!
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Get back or I'll shoot you.
No one's left inside for the pastor and his two daughters.
If you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not going to stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Some lawyer hit a little girl.
The community is left in shock as former cancer patient Sharon Blackwell was struck by an oncoming vehicle.
Take this into evidence, sir.
I need to call my wife. You've been accused of texting while driving.
We don't make an example out of this guy, the public will crucify us.
Before you take your daughter off life support, give God room to be God.
You're not guaranteed another day, but you have today.
Get back or I'll shoot you.
No one's left inside for the pastor and his two daughters.
If you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not going to stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to Salem Now.
What was that? All right. Microphone. Okay, that it brought Sean great joy when a U.S. Senator insulted me. Ooh, take in the music, everybody. Da-dee-da-dee-doo. This is the hour you said the channel. What is ever on your mind, especially about cigars, audio equipment, photography equipment, classical music, and fountain pens. And I want to tell the screener, do not nix those because my producer doesn't like those calls. Do not nix them. Hi, everybody. 1-8-Prager-776, whatever's on your mind. And I periodically remind you, if I don't take your call, please don't be offended. It's nothing personal. There may be 10 different good reasons why I just didn't take that call. Maybe it's a subject I just discussed. Maybe it's a subject that I know nothing about. I mean, sometimes people call in on, so Dennis, what you think of, Byzantine policy toward Western Europe? I don't know enough about Byzantine policy toward Western Europe. I'm embarrassed to tell you, but I admit it. Anyway, there could be any number of reasons, so don't be insulted. 1-8-Prager-776. This is the third hour of the final show of the week. God, did the weeks go fast. That's my theory, as you well know. Days seem to be proper time frame, but weeks fly by. We pass our life via the week. That is the Pragerian theory on time. All right, y'all. Let's go to some of your calls here. And Derek in Richfield, Ohio, where they no longer call the Indians the Indians.
No, it's a shame. Just taking away that part of our history. I always thought it was celebrating.
Of course it was celebrating. Of course it was.
Yeah, it wasn't making fun of
no, of course
Native
not.
Americans. It was an interesting part of our history.
Yes, that's right.
I know it's silly, but so my question. I thank you for your time. Giving me the time. I was curious. What do you think about this fad of excessive tattoos?
Well, the way in which you posed it to the screener was asking me as a religious Jew. Is that correct? Because that's what she wrote. Did you say that? What does Dennis, being a religious Jew, think of it? Or did you just want to know what Dennis, the human, thinks of it, or both?
I mean, whatever.
No. What did you ask? I don't want to put any words in your mouth. Did you?
No, you. No. Well, I do know that the Bible. I think Leviticus it talks.
Right, it does. It proscribes it. That's right. It forbids it. I just wanted to know if she got you right. I it's hard for me to imagine that she added those words on her own. Okay, so there are two issues: Dennis as Dennis, and Dennis as a Jew who observes much of or observes what one can observe in the Torah, the first 5 books of Moses, and one of them is not to have a tattoo. I've said this on occasion, not on many occasions. All things considered, I'm not happy with the tattoo trend, and like everything else, I think there's gradations of, I won't use the word sin, but that's what my gradations idea came from. There's gradations of good, there's gradations of bad. There are gradations of everything. So if you have a butterfly on your ankle, I couldn't care less. On the other hand, when I see the great majority of a woman's leg tattooed or even a breast tattooed, I feel a little bad. I do. I feel bad. I don't have a judgment on the person as much as I do on the act there. But let me tell you what has transpired in my mind, and in some ways I differ from some intimates in my life. Although I'm not sure if I differ on this one, I no longer assume I know something about a person if I see tattoos. That's a big change in me. I still don't like them, but I know nothing about you, basically. If a guy has a sleeve, I don't know anything about his values, whereas I used to think I did. I made an interesting point. Well, maybe, it is interesting. I don't know if it's critically important, but I made an interesting point a few years ago. I think I was in Germany, and I take a lot of photos when I travel. I'm a somewhat serious photographer. So I was taking some pictures walking along the street, and the sidewalk curved, and I tripped and I fell. And the first person to run over to me was a young, to see if I'm okay and help lift me up, was a young man, and he had tattoos. And I mentioned it, and it didn't surprise me. It would have surprised me 5 years ago. But I as a general rule, I don't think it's a good trend. But the trend and the people who have adopted it, and again, depending on how much and what part of the body. I mean, I do. If I see a neck tattooed, then I do make a judgment. I will admit that. Forget face or head, but even just neck. There has to be a way for you, if you have tattoos, to be seen and the tattoos not be seen. Long sleeves, etc. Okay, that's my take on it. I thank you for asking. Fred in Cincinnati, Ohio. Hello.
Hey, Dennis. You were talking about DeSantis earlier.
Right.
And how much you like him. And, DeSantis is a big supporter of vaccines. He's a big supporter of vaccines in young people. And I get the feeling you're not. And I just want to know if you agree with DeSantis on vaccines and if you're vaccinated.
Well, you mentioned the vaccines on young people. That's where I have my strongest reservation. I actually think that most young people are more threatened by a vaccine than they are by COVID. Or at least as much, and it's gratuitous. It's a completely gratuitous act, since so few young people have died of COVID. It's basically in the flu arena. So I think it's actually spectacularly irresponsible to demand that young people be vaccinated until we know more. 5 years from now, I may have a completely different view of it, and I hope I do, by the way. So that's where my passion lies with regard to the young, because we just don't know, and it's a brand new type of vaccine. mRNA is a brand new type of vaccine. It's still in the experimental stage. That's why the FDA has not yet approved it. And for colleges to demand that you can't go to school, I don't know if high schools are doing this, can't go to school this coming semester, without having been vaccinated, it borders on evil. It certainly it doesn't border on. It is truly hysterical. And there were colleges who didn't demand that their faculty be vaccinated. I would say to everybody whose kid has to get a vaccine for college, I want you to find out. I mean, this truly is significant that the president of the school and every single person working at the school, every dean of diversity, every professor, every adjunct lecturer also has to be vaccinated before the semester. If not, what these people are doing is criminal. It's morally criminal. Kids aren't being hurt by this. Sweden never locked down the schools for kids under 15, let alone insisted they be vaccinated. We'll be back in a moment.
The Charlie Kirk Show.
And fundamentally, everything Ben Domenech said was incorrect. Brandy Love is not a conservative. If he needs to sit down and really talk about the philosophy of what it means to be a conservative, I'd love to help him. But it's so foolish. And to put the onus on you guys to say, like, as a student action summit, you need to let in porn stars. Did he defend the teacher that was let in at school who taught pornography to the first graders? Mm-hmm. Is that the big tent that he's looking for? We fight this stuff in the education system. Students need to be protected from this stuff.
Totally.
And you made the absolute right call.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We're getting mostly positive feedback, I have to say, and thank you for that. And then there's
but you shouldn't have let Tommy Lahren speak after she endorsed Bruce Jenner.
Well,
or maybe to debate her ideas. I think we should allow a forum to debate, and stuff like that. But I don't like people saying that they're conservative and but I support abortion and I support Bruce Jenner for governor. It's like, what are you talking about?
And it's this idea of calibrating the programming to reflect what we want to present to these kids, right? And some people are like, well, what are you, cancel culture? So
No.
what do you say to that if we're like, are we engaging in cancel culture now?
It's not cancel culture. You have a responsibility. These are students. And this is so bizarre to me. If this was the RNC, I would be totally fine. I think we do need to allow people, if they're on their path to conservatism. I was on a path. I was on a journey. I was once pro-choice. I was once a liberal. And of course, you want these doors to be open if these are people that are on their journey and wanting to learn things. This has always been marketed as an event that is for students, that follows a conservative program to teach them conservative philosophies. I think the question should be asked is, what was Brandy Love doing here? Why did she want to be a VIP at a student event?
Yes.
And clearly she's doing a lot of this for attention. And by the way, to refer to you guys as worse than Antifa, are you kidding me? And that theatrics really gets me so mad.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on America First with Sebastian Gorka.
Gaining their freedom, but I am also saying at the same time that we have got to stay focused on our border. It is unbelievable what's happening there. And here's the problem. And I'll say it like this, and some people will probably criticize me. How I see Joe Biden is I see him like a squatter in the White House that won't pay the bills because he quit paying for the funding down at the border. He quit paying for the wall, he's not paying for the maintenance and the gates that open and shut, and he is not paying for the security down there. So it's unreal to me, and it's just like somebody squatting in the White House and not paying the bills.
Green.house.gov. That's green with an E on the end. Green.house.gov. Congresswoman Green.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe today at rumble.com. Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
That was dangerous at the point of inflection, at the point of decision, where we could have managed this in a way that had reduced risk to the world. The World Health Organization failed, and you had one job. They had one mission, mission to stop pandemics from flowing across the world. They muffed it, they choked it, and the world is worse off for it. So I'm glad Dr. Tedros now sees that we may well have been right about this virus origination. I'm saddened by the fact that I don't think the WHO has any capability of stopping the next pandemic.
Mike Pompeo is now chairman of Champion American Values, PAC, a great organization that is spreading conservatism. And boy, we need it now more than ever. You talk about the state of the world. How about the state of America under President Biden?
Talking about Sierra Pacific Mortgage, I want to remind you that the rates are pretty low, extraordinarily low. Interest rates. This is the time, if you haven't already, if you are considering a refi, a new purchase, a cash-out refi, or even a reverse mortgage. These guys I really admire. There was Sierra Pacific Mortgage, Andrew and Todd. They've been with me from the first day of the lockdown. It was pretty dead out there in terms of people working. Not these guys. They're honest, they're capable, and you should get in touch with them at andrewandtodd.com, 888-888-1172, andrewandtodd.com. They will take it from there, 888-888-1172. The last caller asked me about the vaccine and my view on kids taking it, and also asked if I was vaccinated. I am not vaccinated. I have been on ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine and zinc and vitamin D as prophylactics, and in case I get it, I believe that they will handle it very well. So I feel that I am protected from anything serious. And I have not advocated that people not take it, but I try to answer questions that are directed at me. I am livid at what is being done to kids, depriving them of school last year, the lockdowns, the masks on kids even when they're playing sports, and now the colleges telling kids you have to be vaccinated to go to class. All I could say is, at the very least, I think you should take your kid out of that college, wait a year, or send them to a college that does not require it. The colleges in South Carolina, for example, do not require it. I also think that if you do have it done, you get in writing that every single professor, every single associate professor, every single instructor, every single dean, and the president also will show, just as the kids do, you want to see somewhere on the internet their certificate of vaccination. Okay? I think a lot of them don't do it. Yeah. I trust college presidents and professors as much as you trust the mafia. All right? I'm not saying they're the mafia. I'm just saying I trust them as much as I trust the mafia. They tried to get away with it in a number of colleges till people started saying, well, wait a minute. Why aren't professors on the list? Okay, let's see here. 1-8 Prager 776. And Steve in La Habra, California. Hello.
Hi, Dennis.
Hi there.
Hey, I finally got the nerve to give you a call after your comment of a few weeks ago that my immediate thought was that you needed to be sent to the punishment room for that. When you called Georg Felix Telemann one of the great Baroque composers, the Vivaldi of Germany just rankled me to no small amount. I think that I'm trying to maintain a straight face while I say this. I'm having difficulty, but I think the comparison is way off mark. I mean, Telemann wrote so many innovative, classical, innovative and polished works in a variety of different genres.
I understand. I took Telemann's name in vain by saying that he was the German Vivaldi. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is he took my invitation to call it on classical music. Most of you don't know who Telemann is. Many of you have heard of Vivaldi. By the way, if you want to get into classical music, I think you should start with Vivaldi's Four Seasons. The only thing I differ with the last person, our assessments differ, is that he thinks I should go to the punishment room for an opinion. And this, we don't put people in punishment rooms for opinions. We put them in for mistakes made on the show. But nevertheless, I appreciate that you like Telemann more. That's what makes a horse race. If I had to live on an island with only the works of Vivaldi or only the works of Telemann, I would live on an island with the works of Vivaldi. All right, cool. Dave, Birmingham, Alabama. Hello.
Oh, yes. Hello. How you doing?
Well.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for all you do. You were asking I forget the lady's name who wrote the book on the protests at the Capitol, whether the people who are currently in jail can appeal that. Generally speaking, with a few exceptions, you have to wait till post-verdict to appeal most issues. So probably not. And the other problem with it is that you could try and appeal it, but that would take some time. You may end up back at square one after losing. So it's a gamble of whether it's worth it. But generally speaking, most things you have to go through trial and then you can appeal.
So theoretically, these people could legally stay in prison for a year, having been indicted on nothing.
Yes.
Not even been convicted, not even been indicted.
Yeah.
Well,
because
there's something wrong with our system. I'm glad you called. I thank you. It's the first time in American in I don't know about American history. It's the first time in my history that I believe America has political prisoners. Wherever the left takes over, there are political prisoners because the left suppresses dissent and uses violence whenever it can. That's a form of violence to arrest people. So remember my phrase from the first hour: those who are nice to the cruel will be cruel to the nice. And it's an inverted world on the left. Next week I'll talk about this at length. The amount of theft taking place now, places like San Francisco, Los Angeles, where people walk into stores, take $900 worth of items, and walk out as slowly as they would had they just purchased something, because they know nothing will happen to them. But people who entered the Capitol and hurt no one, and injured no one, and destroyed nothing, have been in prison since January, since whatever date that they were arrested. Yep, that's the world of the left. 1-8 Prager 776. I'm Dennis Prager.
Trending now on the Mike Gallagher Show.
That was dangerous at the point of inflection, at the point of decision, where we could have managed this in a way that had reduced risk to the world. The World Health Organization failed, and you had one job. They had one mission, mission to stop pandemics from flowing across the world. They muffed it, they choked it, and the world is worse off for it. So I'm glad Dr. Tedros now sees that we may well have been right about this virus origination. I'm saddened by the fact that I don't think the WHO has any capability of stopping the next pandemic.
Mike Pompeo is now chairman of Champion American Values, PAC, a great organization that is spreading conservatism, and boy, we need it now more than ever. You talk about the state of the world. How about the state of America under President Biden? Going in a very different direction, a decidedly different approach from the Trump administration. How bad does it get for America?
It depends. It depends how quickly we take the rope away from him and we shorten his runway by making sure 2022 is a knockout success for conservative candidates all across America. And you mentioned Cav back. I was a young cavalry guy a couple decades ago, Mike. The cavalry rides to the sounds of the gun and make sure everybody knows there's real risk and a real crisis. That's what we're trying to do. So everything turns on school board races, city council races, people getting out to their PTA meetings, winning back seats in the House. I'm working on that alongside my colleagues at CAVPAC to find conservative candidates who are fearless and effective. And when we can do those two things, when we do that, and folks like, or with me today in Florida, Turning Point USA's Student Action Summit, we're gonna make sure that President Biden's runway is very, very short.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
There's about 57 Muslim states in the world. There's one Jewish state.
The massive ingathering of Jews in the last 150 years back to the land is absolutely unprecedented.
They say that there's no greater sign of redemption coming than the Jewish people returning to the hills of Judea.
As a Christian, I've always supported Israel's claim to the Holy Land. To me, the Palestinians were just getting in the way of God's plan.
300,000 Palestinians are unemployed.
In spite of all the years of conflict, there's hope here, if you know where to look for it.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Surprise! Sharon and I. Sharon and you what?
Things just happened.
My girlfriend and my best friend. You got 30 days to grow up, son.
Nathan Hanning! It is good to have you home.
Nona, it's Nathan.
Well, you don't mind my giving her your room, do you?
Really though, thanks for thinking of me for this position.
I thought about you first. Come on, growing up, I had a huge crush on you.
There are things that we all need to change about ourselves, but we can't blame God because He helps us change.
Stream on.
This portion of the Dennis Prager Show is brought to you by Salem Radio and our dear friends who are arranging our trip to Israel. Go to Stand With Israel banner for more information on the trip scheduled for October with me to Israel. Did you folks, Sean, are you familiar with the story of the guy who proposed to the girl? I don't think it's real. Okay, that's my question. So there's a video, it's gone viral, obviously. There's a minor league game this week. A Boston Red Sox minor league team, guy during batting practice or between innings, I don't remember which it is. I think it's between innings. And he goes in front of the dugout and he goes on his knee with his girlfriend, open box with a ring, presumably, and she shakes her head no and runs away. And he and his two buddies run after her. And he looks distraught and she looks unhappy. So here's a very interesting question. How many of you think it's an actual video? And how many of you think it was staged? Sean, you believe it was staged? I believe it was real. Yeah, isn't that interesting? Okay, it was a stunt to go viral. Okay, let's say it was a stunt to go viral. So the two of them were in on the stunt, and the purpose of doing that was they want their pictures going viral. They're a sick duo. They should get married. They're really meant for each other. If this is a stunt, these are very truly unimpressive human beings. I'm being very careful. That's why you heard the hesitation. It's not the words that I really was thinking. Now, but if it is real, that raises another question. Doesn't a man who is about to propose to his girlfriend and decides to do so in public before thousands of strangers, doesn't he sort of like have a clue beforehand that she'll say yes? Or more than a clue, isn't he pretty certain? How do you ask a woman to marry you if there's some doubt that she'll say yes? Anyway, I'll tell you, if it's a stunt, I'm actually angry at them. And I'll tell you why. I don't like when people play with people who are innocently going along with what is happening. It is mockery of people, and I don't like that. So, if it was a stunt, screw them. They're really truly unimpressive human beings. But I don't think it was a stunt. All right, be interesting to see what happens there. Janine in Loma Linda, California. Hi.
Hey, Dennis. How are you?
Good to hear from you.
Thank you. I have an ethical question for you. You have said in the past that in Judaism, a person is allowed to do or say pretty much anything in order to save one's own life as long as it causes no harm to another. Recently, a group of friends, all of us who are committed Christians, watched a spectacular 3-hour film titled A Hidden Life. Have you ever seen it?
No, but your recommendation and their reaction makes me want to see it.
Okay. Well, I have to say, it's one of the best-made movies I have ever seen.
Again, the name?
That's A Hidden Life.
A Hidden Life. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. It was a dramatization of an actual happening in World War II Germany, in which a farmer had to make this very decision whether or not to sign a loyalty oath to Hitler in order to save his own life. He was called up to the military. They asked him to salute Hitler. He did not. They asked him to sign a loyalty oath. They said everything would be fine with him and his family if he signed it. And signing it would have also meant his village and his family would have suffered far less because his wife had to take over the farm and raise their children by herself. And she also had to care for his aged mother-in-law. I will.
All right, hold on. I really want to hear the conclusion of this, and then I want to react. So, and I obviously want to see the film. And Sean, Relief Factor, which I'm carrying with me. The thing is, the more I know about the product, the more admiring I am of it. I mean, it works. That's the most important thing. But what it does and how it does it safely is remarkable. It's an anti-inflammatory. It reduces pain. Try it for 3 weeks for just $20 at relieffactor.com, 800-500-8384.
Trending now on the Larry Elder Show.
But what we've seen with this open border crisis is, listen, the Democrat Party is trying to replenish their vote. And they're trying to replenish their vote because there's something that I'm going to share with you at the bottom of the hour. Trump did a really good job with Latinos, and I'm going to get into the numbers. These are in-depth numbers that I'm going to read out to you. And it makes you wonder what really happened during the election. It really does. It really does. But here's what Democrats want to do. all of this stuff is connected. Like they try to throw us off, throw so many issues at us. It may be the LGBTQ community. The reason why they want to keep adding to the alphabet is because they want to keep perpetual victims. They need more and more and more victims. That's what it is. That's all this is about. The open borders that the left continues to ignore, it's about ushering in more victims, more perpetual victims. And I'm sorry to say it, black people, I just got to be real with you. We kill so many of our babies through abortion. The Democrat Party is going to look for someone or a people group to replace you. Whether it's transgenders, whether it's illegal aliens, that's just a fact. I'm not trying to be mean. Call me Uncle Tom Sell. I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. This is how the Democrat Party works. This is a Marxist party. This is a party that is hell-bent on power, and they can care less about the people they supposedly serve.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com. Trending now on the Eric Metaxas Show.
Ken Paxton, I want to ask you about the border. You just said to me off the air that 2/3 of our border with Mexico, 2/3 of our southern border is a Texan border. Greg Abbott, the governor, it seems to me, under the strange administration that we are sort of having to deal with these days, he has made a decision to try to get the border wall built because the federal government refuses to do the right thing by the American citizens who live in
You know, this is one of the most popular bumper music themes we've ever had, which proves something interesting, or suggests, not proves, that the music is more important than the lyrics. I've always believed that because I never, until recently, even heard lyrics. I just heard music. Most of you don't know French. I know French, and I don't understand lyrics. I don't even understand lyrics to most English sung songs. So, yet I love it, as many of you do, and you don't know anything about the content. So, that is my argument for music is more important than lyrics. I will not repeat Sean's question to me. It wasn't vulgar. It was just stupid. That's the reason I'm not. Back to Janine and this interesting question. So you saw this, apparently, they claim it's a true story, correct?
Oh, yes.
So, and again, the movie is A Hidden Life, and which I have not seen, but I will now. And it's about a German who was faced with the dilemma being drafted into the German army under Hitler of not wanting to take an oath to Hitler, an oath of loyalty, but that would mean he would be killed, and it would hurt, of course, damage aside from his death, economically horribly affect his family and his village. Is that correct?
Yes, and I want to add a couple more details. I believe they also told him that if he signed it, they would let him out of the military to go back home to his family. Also, I want to mention that the way we heard about this was we read about it in Rod Dreher's spectacular book, Live Not by Lies. He mentions it.
And what is his
But
position?
also-
What is his position? I liked Rod Draper.
You know, I haven't gotten that far in the book. The
Okay,
friend who
fine.
invited us.
All right,
did,
so you're
but,
asking me what my position is?
One more detail.
Okay.
One more detail, please, if I may. Everyone around the farmer was opposed to his signing it, including his village priest and his own mother. Everyone, except for his wife, who wanted him to make his own decision, but told him she would support him however he decided.
Wow.
So he did sign the oath.
What
and he
was the
put to death.
argument of those who said it's better for you to die than sign it? What was the argument?
I'm sorry, I told you wrong. He did not sign the oath. Yes, the argument of those around him was, including the people who were tormenting him to sign it, said, all you have to do is put your name on this paper.
No. What is the argument of those whom he loved, his priest, his family?
Okay.
You said they were telling him not to sign, correct?
Yes.
So they were
telling him-
advocating that he
No,
die.
I'm sorry, Dennis, I misspoke. They told him to sign the oath, and no, they did not advocate that he that
Oh,
he
you
would
said
die.
that
I
they
got mixed
did.
up.
Okay, you said
Yeah,
they
I'm
okay.
very sorry.
All right, it's
I
okay.
misspoke. So their argument mainly was
No,
look,
you
it's
don't
not
have to
gonna
give
help
me their argument because I agree with it. I don't understand the argument that he shouldn't sign. To be honest, I don't understand. What is the argument? Die rather than sign fidelity to Hitler. Tell me what is the moral argument?
Truth.
But you correctly prefaced your whole call to me that I have advocated lying to save a life.
Okay, well, I wondered if you would take it this far. I would
It's
love
not.
to
It's
hear
not.
back
It's
from
not
you.
far. It's not far. Yes. Thank you for calling. Thank you for asking. I don't understand the moral achievement of the man signing the oath that he doesn't believe in, and dying, leaving a widow, leaving fatherless children, leaving economic devastation in his home and apparently with fellow villagers, because he told the truth. This is a notion that I've never understood. It's like look, I had in this studio is the most moving guest of my life, a Polish woman who had saved the Jews by lying about hiding them. Not only did she lie, but when it was found out that she was hiding them, she was working she was a young, beautiful Polish woman working in a Nazi officer's home in Warsaw. When he caught the Jews under the house, he said, either let me sleep with you whenever I want, have sex with you whenever I want, or I send these Jews to a death camp. So she agreed to be raped on a regular basis, and she was a religious Catholic to boot, and he was a married man. So she agreed to commit adultery and be raped rather than send these Jews to their deaths. And she's one of the heroes of my life. I don't live with an abstract morality. I live with a very real morality. What are the consequences of what you do? He signs the loyalty oath, and his children have a father. Now, if the issue was go kill a Jew or we'll kill you, no, then you don't kill a Jew. Lying is not the same as murder. All right. There isn't even ambiguity. There's no ambivalence in my view on this issue. And yet there are people who say truth is truth. And you can't even lie to the Nazi who asks you where you're hiding Jews. Oh, they're right over there in the out in the barn. Yeah, in the third haystack. You'll find 3 of them. Because I can't tell a lie. I don't know where people get these ideas from. There's a hierarchy of goods in this world. Saving innocent life, including your own, is pretty high up there. And I hate lying. We'll be back. I'm Dennis Prager.
The Dennis Prager
Trending now on The Hugh Hewitt Show.
Let me quote Kurt Campbell to you, because I do believe he is the senior Indo-Pac spokesperson within the White House and the Biden administration, and President Biden has not contradicted him. Quote, I believe that there are some significant downsides to the kind of what is called strategic clarity that you lay out, Campbell said in talking to the Financial Times. I think any conflict with China would broaden quickly, and it would fundamentally trash the global economy in ways that I don't think anyone can predict. Now, that seems to me to be an invitation to the Chinese Communist Party to attack Taiwan.
Look, I don't know the spokesperson. I don't know why he spoke that way, but he sounds like he's speaking to some sort of, think tank gathering. These words are being read in Beijing, and they've already got preconceived notions about this administration. This is only going to further that.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry yesterday, again, breaking news, Senator, accused the G7 foreign ministers gathering of meddling, that's the quote, in its internal affairs after those foreign ministers backed participation of Taiwan in the WHO. Is that meddling, and should Taiwan be in the WHO, Marco Rubio?
To turn over the Taiwanese people's health care and health decisions at the global scale to the Chinese Communist Party is absurd. So they should absolutely be a part of it. And China calls anything that's a criticism of their actions as internal meddling. That's the code word they use. And by the way, it's what they go around the world telling governments is, don't worry, we're not going to get involved in your internal politics. Of course, they get involved in our internal politics and everybody else's. I mean, you can't produce a Hollywood film today that's critical of China because the studios know that it won't be distributed in China.
Keep up with what's trending. Subscribe on YouTube and at rumble.com.
Streaming on Salem Now.
Fiance? No, I can't be your fiance.
You're gonna go. You're gonna be my fiance, and you're gonna be the most amazing, fascinating, most successful man ever. We're only gonna be there for a few hours, eat dinner, and I promise we'll have the best breakup of all time.
My baby, my princess. Oh, booyah!
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Get back or I'll shoot you. No one's left inside for the pastor and his two daughters.
If you run, I'll shoot your family. Nobody cares whether I live or die. It's bad.
I'm not gonna stand around and be a part of it anymore. Give me the gun.
Stream on your phone, tablet, or TV. Look for Salem Now in the App Store or go to salemnow.com. Streaming on Salem Now.
Some lawyer hit a little girl.
The community is left in shock as former cancer patient Sharon Blackwell.
Do you believe it? Final segment of the week. It's really something. Goes fast, the weeks. David in North Hollywood, California. Hello.
Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you
so much.
I appreciate you.
Yeah. In the commentary in Genesis, you say you have God knows everything that humans do, but not necessarily everything humans will do.
Right.
And my question is, if he's omniscient, doesn't he know that? For instance, in Job, when he asked Satan, have you considered my servant Job, because he knew what he would do, or no? I'm just curious.
Does it say he knew what Job would do? Or wasn't Job tested?
No, it just said. No, he just said, "Have you considered my servant Job?"
Right.
That's
so
all.
that's a separate issue.
Okay.
That's why I say
Okay.
not necessarily. I have no position on whether God knows everything humans will do. I can make excellent arguments on both sides, and I don't believe it is theologically important. So I don't spend much time on it. It might be interesting but not important. They're not always the same thing, interesting and important. If God knew everything we would do, we humans, I think God knows everything a dog will do because they're programmed. We're not programmed. So it says that humans turned out to be pretty rotten. And God got sad, Vayitatsev Adonai Elibo. It's an incredible phrase. God got saddened unto his heart, seeing how human beings behaved. If God knew how humans being behaved, why would he get saddened? Right? He would have expected it. He gave us free will, so we can defy God's will. Animals don't defy God's will. Stars don't defy God's will. Planets don't defy God's will. Microbes don't, but humans do. On the other hand, God lives outside of time and may well know what everything that will occur will occur inside time. But as I said, I don't think it's theologically significant. Either one is possible. On that note, I thank you for listening. I'm Dennis Prager. Have a wonderful weekend.